It's been a crazy life. I'm kind of tired right now, but I think you guys deserve an explanation, especially a lot of my fans with the Iron Man suit and people who are actually subscribers. It's been 7 years, roughly. 2011, 2012 is the last time I posted a video. Well, my last one was a Minecraft video, but I did post other ones, but I didn't publish them on a little bit of car work. But so my life has always been crazy. My videos have never explained anything about my life or a testimony or anything like that, but I am now. My childhood life was very dysfunctional. My family was very dysfunctional, and thus making me dysfunctional. One of my outlets to cope with things that happened in my personal life was to make YouTube videos, get involved in school, like really involved in school. That's why I have background in so many different things. I barely told you guys about my schooling. I got college credits in high school. I took senior level classes as a sophomore, and I took advanced second degree or sophomore level college classes senior year. I didn't go to college. I went to a technical trade school for automotive for a little while in 2016, but that's besides the point. On June 10th, and this is what really threw me off, June 10th of 2012, this is what actually set in motion from 2012 and around when I stopped making videos, which was actually end of 2011 was when I made my last serious video. But June 10th of 2012 really set the motion from then until now. One of my good friends, his name's Dustin, and Michael, they were really good friends of mine. They still are. I don't talk to them much anymore though. I kind of talked to Dustin. We got involved in a rollover truck accident. I held on to a pickup truck as it rolled 5 times on a county dirt road 200 miles west of Fort Worth, Texas, in Comanche, Texas, actually, Sydney, Texas. It was a 2-seater single cab truck. We weren't doing anything stupid. The stories conflict between all of us, but I distinctly recall a drunk driver running us off the road, and we're clipping the back end of the bed of the truck that we were in. Me and a friend of mine, Christian, is another good friend of our group. Me and him were in the bed of the truck. Dustin was driving, Michael was in the passenger seat. When the driver, from what I remember, there was conflicting stories between Dustin because he thought he had caused all of it, and I distinctly remembering a drunk driver or a truck clipping the truck that we were in. We were only going about 40 miles an hour, 45, if that. But he clipped the bed of the truck. Me and Christian were in the bed of the truck. We were just going from point A to point B, or we weren't joyriding, we were cruising down dirt roads. It's the middle of the country. Nobody was out there. We're all 16 at the time, 17 actually. Around that. I was 17, I think. Everybody was 17, except for Michael, he was 18, but it's besides the point. The truck fishtailed 5 times, back and forth, back and forth. On the final fishtail, from your perspective to the right, the truck rolled 5 times. At least I think it was 5 times. I blacked out on the first roll, but I held on to the truck. Almost cut off my fingers from the glass window, the back sliding glass window in the truck, and held onto the side of the bed with my other hand, and it rolled 5 times. At that time, we were going about probably 50 miles an hour. The truck landed upside down. The cab was crushed. Dustin and Michael were both fine. miraculously, they were fine, no injuries, no bruises, cuts, broken bones. Michael found out he had chips on his spine, but they never affected him. That was months or 6 months after or something like that. The truck landed upside down. Dustin kicked open the driver door. They both started screaming for our names because they didn't know where we were. Christian was ejected out of the bed of the truck so fast that everything in his pockets were thrown out of his pockets. He had road rash from the top of his neck down to the top of his butt, both of his back of his arms, all skinned down to the white flesh. He had fractured ribs, collarbone, clavicle. I held on to the truck. I had 7 fractured ribs. Both my lungs were punctured. My spleen ruptured. Clavicle, or collarbone, clavicle, hairline on my C4. I could have been a quadriplegic. I was underneath the truck after it was finished rolling. They didn't find me. I crawled out from underneath and started walking with blood filling my lungs. It was a crazy experience. But I got up and walked. I was so in shock and with so much adrenaline rushing through my body, I tried to breathe and tried to move like I normally would and couldn't. They finally got us on the ground, told us to stay awake because they didn't know if we had concussions. My phone screen shattered and I covered it with blood because for some reason it was in my left pocket with my cut up hand, and I pulled it out, covered it in blood, and the screen was already cracked. Christian's phone was ejected out of his pocket. Michael didn't have a phone, and Dustin had an iPhone. He had 2% battery life on it. 2% left. Tried dialing out to 911, it didn't go through. I think he did it twice. Dialed out to his dad. I don't know if it rang, but I know it went to voicemail. And he tried to leave a voicemail, and it cut out halfway through the voicemail. We don't know if anybody got the message, if his dad got the message. At the time, we didn't. 30 minutes later, we see ambulances, fire squad, police, and his dad roll up. We didn't even know what county road we were on. We didn't know where the hell we were. We just knew we were at least 5 to 10 miles away from the house. And just to give you a perspective, Sydney, Texas, the graduating class at the high school was 7 people that year, or the year after. Sometime one of those years. So it was very small. There was a high school, a church, a post office with no clerk. It was just mailboxes, and that's all there is in the center of the town. Nothing else. No shops. No nothing. Paramedics got to me and Christian and gave us care and said that we were 30 minutes, half an hour away from death. Me from internal bleeding and toxification of my internal organs because of my spleen ruptured and caused all of the toxins to go straight into my gut. And Christian from internal and external bleeding from his back being skinned down to the flesh and his ribs cutting into whatever organs they cut into. I don't know if he had lung injuries or whatever. I know I did. We were both taken to the high school, and a care flight helicopter was waiting for us. They care flighted us all the way from there to Fort Worth. It's about 200 miles or so. They care flighted us all the way over there. It was an $80,000 helicopter ride. I was still technically a minor, being 17, still under Medicaid or government insurance from my parents. So my $210,000 or $180,000 hospital bill, which was a 2-week stay, and the $80,000 helicopter ride, which I'm not sure about those numbers, but that's what I remember. They were all covered. As far as I know, my dad didn't tell me anything else. The craziest part about the whole experience wasn't the actual accident. The night before, probably about 26, 27 hours before, by the way, that happened at 10:45 at night on June 10th. But on June 9th, we were riding around in the same truck. We were driving around random dirt roads. And Dustin had moved down there. He used to live with me in Duncan, or lived down in Duncanville, and we grew up together from 8 years old. He was my best friend, 8 or 9 years old. Michael came in the picture later on when we were in 7th grade, and Christian later in high school. So we all just became really good friends. We liked comic books and technology and just all this cool stuff. But that's the reason why we were there in the first place, just to see him. We hadn't seen him in probably almost a year, or 6 months, or almost a year. I don't know exactly. But the night before, we're driving around in the same truck. The whole sky is blue except for a single lightning cloud, or lightning cloud. Probably cumulonimbus, if you will, off in the distance. We stopped on the county dirt road. I think Michael and Dustin were in the cab, just like in the accident. Me and Christian were in the bed. They got out of the cab, got into the bed with us, and we just stood and watched as a single cloud came towards us. The rest of the sky is blue. There's 1,000 lightning bolts flashing through this cloud, and as it gets closer and closer, it intensifies. As soon as it gets right in front of us, all of the lightning stopped. A single lightning bolt came out of the ground, or came out of the cloud, and hit the ground. When it hit the ground, we all saw the Grim Reaper standing in between me and Christian in the bed of the truck. It was a skeleton in a robe with a scythe, with the hood over its head. It was a split-second flash. That was the craziest experience of my entire life. We were so in shock, we asked each other if we saw what we saw, and it was so much of a shock that we forgot about it. Not instantly, but within a few minutes. We all got back into the truck. Maybe came across our minds once or twice. I think it did mine once or twice. I just forgot about it. It was a crazy experience. Like, why do we see that? Lo and behold, 27 hours later, me and Christian almost die. When I got back home after the hospital, and Christian got back home, we all stayed in contact for a little bit. We all started going to school. This is before my senior year. This is junior to senior year. I started going to school, but those first 4 months of school, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I threw up all the time. I had nightmares. It was just a case of acute PTSD for the moment. I went through it for 4 or 5 months. One thing that did help me, which really did help me, was I did smoke weed during that time. I started smoking around 16. That got me off track. My junior year, I did take a lot of advanced classes, and I was going to take a lot more in my senior year, and I started taking them, but I started skipping school after a while. Then weed started helping me, and it got at least my emotions on, with its head on right. And then I had to go to alternative school for the last semester of my senior year. The accident took away my ability to go into the military. I talked to a recruiter when I did get my head right, and they said because of my injuries, I was too high of a risk to go into the Air Force, which is what I wanted to do, or the Marines. So I just dropped military altogether. My GPA dropped, so scholarships dropped, or at least possibility of scholarships. And then my focus was so off that I didn't care. I didn't care for a long time. I graduated with a normal diploma, not a GED, with a 3.7 GPA, 3.6, 3.7. But even if I was able to get into schooling and everything else, I didn't want to be in debt for the rest of my life, and I didn't have the focus there anymore. And like I said, it happened for a long time. I had a few jobs. I did serving. I worked at Domino's after the accident. I worked at Domino's for a while. And then I started getting into heavier drugs. A family member supplied me, or told me that they felt better if I got from them. and I relied on them. And I don't want to name anybody or say who it was or what kind of family member it was, but it was a family member. They were on it heavily too. I'm not going to say what it was either. I went through it. That was from 2014 till the end of 2015. So beginning of end of 2013 actually. End of 2013, beginning of 2014 to the end of 2015. I was around the wrong people, did the wrong things. I didn't do anything illegal. Drug abuse, I don't know if that's considered illegal, but I knew people that did, and I didn't want to be a part of it, so I kept away from them. I kept my head on straight. I actually lived with a friend of mine. All we did was work on cars all day. Cars, trucks, SUVs. Still did drugs. Then that same family member got help from a friend of theirs, a friend with benefits. Got an apartment, and I moved in with that person. And they said they made it seem like I had to pay all their bills and help them with things that were going on in their life, or I wouldn't be able to live there, and they made it clear. Paid all their bills, car payment, all this stuff. I started going to auto tech school, Universal Technical Institute. I withdrew after a month and a half because that family member, I paid for their car, probation fees, tickets, the rent, all the bills, gave them money as well. They didn't want to take me to school. I had to take the bus. They maybe took me and picked me up a few times. I had to find my way the other times. So I took the bus, but I couldn't work with my work schedule in order to pay all of our bills and go to school at the same time. So I started renting out a car, couldn't pay the car, had it repoed. Then I had to withdraw without being expelled. I didn't want that on my record as being out of school, so I withdrew. I had already known how to rebuild engines and fix cars and do everything on vehicles, even diesels and big rigs. I mean, I rebuilt an Cummins M14 2001 International in its engine, the Cummins M14. I rebuilt the heads on it, but I rebuilt a Jaguar S-Type. I worked on so many different cars and trucks, Expeditions, Tahoes, Suburbans, Corollas, Camrys, Honda Accord, Civic, a bunch of different vehicles. Too many to count. Motorcycles, small engines for lawn equipment. I even worked at a cell phone shop, and I had learned how to start repairing cell phones in high school. But I got really good training working for the shop for about a month, and the dude was crazy, so I left. But I repaired 20 iPhones a day, iPads, gaming systems, laptops, computers, everything. Even through all of the stuff that I put myself through and all the heartache after the accident and falling out with friends, and during my drug abuse, one of my friends actually overdosed on something he was doing, not what I was doing. And he died, and he was a very good friend of mine. I actually saw him one more time after his death. We had an argument 2 weeks before he died. I was hanging around with somebody he didn't like and all this other stuff. But a month after he died, I was at a QT with a friend of mine that knew him very well too. And we're buying snacks. We leave from the counter, and we walk off towards the door, and we hear a guy say, "Hey, what's up?" And we look up, and it's him. He's glowing. Every now and again, I feel his presence, his hand on my shoulder. He's kind of like a big brother to me. He was a few years older than me, like two or three. But we were the best of friends for about a year. But we saw him, and we're so much in shock, just like when I saw the Reaper. And we walked outside, and we asked each other if that was him, and we said yeah, and we both started crying and walking to the car. We didn't look back. We knew he wouldn't be there. But like I said, in 2016 I moved in with that family member, and when I did, I got clean. My family member also got clean, but used me up until, it was January, up until October, when I met my soon-to-be wife. We got together, got an apartment. That was too much for me to afford. I got into hotels actually that summer before that. I've been doing maintenance in hotels for about 3 years or so, and I just left the last hotel that I worked at. I won awards in North Texas. I'm highly accredited, and I've learned so much. I started remodeling houses. I started a business. I'm starting a tech startup, and all this other stuff. But I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I want to do with my life, and being around the wrong people and doing the wrong things is not one thing that I want to do. And I learned that during this 1.5 to 2 years. In 2016, I learned that even more. Seeing that family wasn't something that was always going to be there for you with your best interest at heart. So I got on my own, and now the family that I've created, I have a daughter now. She'll be 2 in October. And she's beautiful. And I want to make sure that she goes through life with a better intention and better heart than people that I've known. And like people I have known. My friend that passed away, he was a beautiful soul. I've actually helped people that were contemplating suicide realize that that's not the answer. I went through my bouts as well. Depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety. My anxiety I still have, I'm working on. But I've learned a lot. I've gotten to a lot of skilled trades. I'm working with new clientele where I'm living now. I've moved out of Dallas. I'm living in South Texas now. And now I have a house. And I'm working on building my business even further with my fiance. Me and her are doing it together. But I know y'all have been wondering what's going on with the Connect Iron Man suit. Stay tuned for the next video, which actually I'm recording right after this. So, thank you guys for your time. If you're a fan or if you've followed me from my beginning, please leave a comment down below, like the video. If you're not a fan, subscribe if you want. I'm going to be making more videos for this channel, and it's not going to be as shoddy as it was whenever I was making videos where I said I was going to make a bunch and never did. And my childhood was weird, but I'm better for it now, no matter what I've gone through. I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. But thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.